Have you ever wondered what a world without music would be like? Music has a big impact on people's lives and decisions, and is a common type of expression that can be used to convey almost anything. Music is a strongly influential expressive art that has the capacity to morally impact its audience. In the novel 1984, music plays a role in a lot of foreshadowing, as well as swaying the emotions of several characters, causing them to react impulsively. Musicians can impact their audience through the frequency and quality of the sound they are creating. A common example of this is advertisement. Advertisers use music to manipulate their audiences, often using background music that will make them feel good to arouse positive feelings about the product being advertised. On December 6, 2012, three researchers from Tel Aviv-Yafo Academic College composed an experiment on a group of university undergraduates to discover whether or not background music would have an effect if the product being advertised was morally compromised. These three researchers recorded a radio ad for a non-existent website that allows plagiarism and made one group of students listen to a version with James Brown's "I Got You, I Feel Good" playing in the background, while the others heard a voice-only ad. The participants completed a short survey after the experiment, along with a questionnaire about academic dishonesty. The results were as expected. Those who had listened to the voice-only version judging the advertisement quite harshly, and those with the background music judging it more favorably. Similarly, in 1984, Charrington manipulates Winston into trusting him using a simple rhyme. "Oranges and lemons, say the bells of St. Clement's." That was a rhyme we had when I was a little boy. How it goes on, I don't remember, but I do know it ended up, "Here comes a candle to light you to bed, here comes a chopper to chop off your head." Through this, Mr. Charrington leads Winston to believe that they share a common interest and that he also didn't have much regard for the rules of their society, considering he was speaking of the past. Artists are always conveying messages through their work, and not with solely lyrics. In fact, music consists neither essentially nor primarily in the lyrics. Although the words will affect the audience, the actual music will always influence men more profoundly. Lyrics must be read, heard, understood, but music is immediately grasped by the emotions. In 1984, lyrics are mostly meaningless to the party members, as they don't particularly enjoy listening to music. The arts aren't greatly appreciated during this time, and all forms of artistic expression are simply lifeless and unconvincing imitations of what they used to be. Upon finding an article about three trusted members who had committed various acts of sabotage, Winston recalls seeing them in the Chestnut Tree Cafe. In this particular instance, he remembers tinny music trickling from the telescreens, then it suddenly switching. The tune that they were playing changed, and the tone of the music changed too. There came into it, but it was something hard to describe. It was a peculiar, cracked brain, jeering note. Although the lyrics that follow are quite dark, Winston and the other men seem to focus solely on the note. And the music, it causes one of the men, Rutherford, to cry and Winston to shudder because of the eerie sound. The simple note has such a strong hold over the men and changes their mood instantly. Screwdriver was a British neo-Nazi rock against communism band formed by Ian Stewart Donaldson in 1976, who used their platform to convey racist political ideology. Like the song in the cafe, Screwdriver created dark lyrics to accompany their songs in order to get their point across, and also similarly to the song Winston heard, although some found the lyrics invigorating, it was really the undertones of the music that were spurring people on. Using precise articulation, pitch structure, and sensorial dissonance, they were able to write music that was meant to corrupt the soul and mind and ignite some sort of fire. Screwdriver inspired many other white supremacist bands such as Baker's Dozen, Condemned 84, Dark Fury, Kill Baby Kill, Ravenswing, Skinful, and Skullhead, and influenced their audience to take a violent lead against non-white people. Perhaps most famously, Wade Michael Page, who was responsible for the 2012 Wisconsin shooting at a Sikh temple.
Adapt to the trying times, or pay with your life.
The music is an incredibly violent, genre of rock and roll, and boiled down to a word, it's genocide.
He played in bands Blue Eyed Devils, Indefinite Hate, and in 2005 created a group called End Apathy. They performed songs with lyrics that mentioned killing Jews, black people, gay people, and other minorities. Page had always been a music lover, and his turn to hate-filled violence stemmed from the 2000 Georgia's Hammerfest, a large white power music festival. There, he was influenced by the music and messages before moving to the center of the racist music scene and becoming an influencer himself. Music is a form of expression, and although freedom of expression exists in today's society, it is very possible to suppress it. This is why music is valuable and has a strong moral impact on its audience, because it may not always be there. In 1984, this exact scenario has already taken place. There are no famous musicians or artists, only songs generated from the party, created using random words that are meant to have no meaning. However, Winston stumbles across a prole woman who is able to give meaning to a robotic song with her voice. He is captivated by her passion and musicality as she sings. It struck him as a curious fact that he had never heard a member of the party singing alone and spontaneously. It would even have seemed slightly unorthodox, a dangerous eccentricity, like talking to oneself. Perhaps it was only when people were somewhere near the starvation level that they had anything to sing about. Winston recognizes that the party members are being denied freedom of expression, so much so that they may not even want it anymore. He later comes to the realization that the woman is beautiful, which is not a term they would commonly use in their society. Driven by the passion in the prole's voice, he begins to fantasize about overthrowing Big Brother with the proles, believing that the future belongs to them. He believes they are capable of something heroic, simply from listening to a song. He continuously watches the prole woman, not completely understanding her carefree nature. She had had her momentary flowering, a year, perhaps, of wild rose beauty, and then she had suddenly swollen like a fertilized fruit and had grown hard and red and coarse, and then her life had been laundering, scrubbing, darning. At the end of it, she was still singing. Winston admires her ability to keep her chin up and continue to do what she loves passionately, even in the dark times they are living in. This is comparable to Jewish composer Ernest Bloch. In 1938, his compositions were banned due to the anti-Semitic movement, and he had trouble finding people who would support him. Various works of his had to be continued because the Nazi regime deemed them too Jewish-sounding. However, Bloch kept his chin up high and continued composing anyway. He finished the score for Shakespeare's Macbeth and several other pieces, just continuing to do what he loved most despite his troubles. In today's society, music is a major part of everyone's life. Some of the richest people in the world are musicians because society depends so much on their industry. Music absolutely has the power to sway their audience and change their moral values simply because the industry is idolized and relied on, and the undertones of each song are meant to draw one in. It is important to keep in mind that one should have their own opinions and not those that some songs are trying to express. That being said, music is important to everyone. It's a way of escaping, it's a way of living, it's a way of expressing yourself. It's pretty safe to say that everyone would be at a loss without music.